Hey everyone, my name is Sean Rady with North Florida Flight School, and today I'm going to help you guys understand the principles of flight, which is a technical subject area of the practical test standards to become a CFI. Now, this is a tricky subject because you really need to talk about the forces in flight in order to elaborate more on the principles of flight. So, to give you an example, the forces in flight, right? So here we have our airplane, okay? And there's several forces acting on that airplane. We have lift, right? Which is created by the wings. We have a high pressure system below the wing and a low pressure system above the wing. And as that air is coming into the wing, it's separating. And the camber of the wing is creating a faster air movement over the top of the wing, and it's creating a slower air movement on the bottom. Well, Bernoulli's principle states that the slower the air moves, the higher the pressure it has. The faster the air moves, the lower the pressure it has. And we know that air wants to move from a high pressure system to a low pressure system, just like weather. And so that creates lift. And so that's one of our forces. We have lift. And so by explaining lift in our lesson to our students, we can then talk about the airfoil. We can talk about Bernoulli's principle, which is just explained. We can talk about Newton's third law. And we can talk about high pressure and low pressure, angle of attack, relative wind, chord line. That can all be encompassed from talking about lift, which is a force in flight. And airfoil is something that is covered in the principles of flight. So you can cover a lot of lessons. They kind of almost overlap each other when you talk about the forces in flight. Then we can talk about thrust, right? Which is created by the engine. And, thrust by the engine, well, it creates the 4 left turning tendencies. And we can talk about P factor and torque, maybe the slipstream that's created off of the propeller as it slipstreams down the fuselage. And then, maybe gyroscopic precession. And so that's an easy way to hit on all 4 left turning tendencies as we talk about the thrust, which is a force in flight. Another one is weight, right? That is a downward force on the airplane caused by gravity. And with weight, we can talk about load factor, which is a principle of flight. And through load factor, we can discuss how at a higher angle of attack, we have at an increase in weight, an increase in load factor, we have higher stall speeds, right? And then, of course, when we're slow and heavy and we have a high angle of attack, we're going to have big wingtip vortices coming off the edge. And so we can talk about wingtip vortices and how to avoid those, right? Which is a section in the principles of flight. And then lastly, drag, right? That is the retarding force of thrust. That is the opposing force of thrust. And we have different types of drag. We have parasite drag and induced drag. And you can then talk about, the different forms of parasite drag, how there's form drag, interference, and surface friction drag, right? You can elaborate on that. But from a principles of flight standpoint, you can talk about induced drag, right? And how induced drag is related to lift and how ground effect reduces induced drag, and that can increase the performance of the airplane, right? And help you, take off. And that relates to principles of flight. So that's why it's important to have the forces of flight explained. And you can use the forces of flight as an umbrella to segue yourself into the principles of flight. So I hope that helps. I'll teach the second video here. I'll actually draw it out on the whiteboard as if I had a student in front of me and try to demonstrate all of these principles. So thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.